Alright, this is SSLFamilyDad with Simple Suburban Living, and I have one of the SSL kids here with me, Kayla. She's going to be helping me out today. So what we're doing today is an oil change on a 2004 Avalanche, Chevy Avalanche. It's going to be similar for any like model vehicle with the same engine. We're going to go through the process step by step. We're also going to go through cleaning a K&M oil or air filter, which is what we have in here as well, and just give some tips and tricks along the way. So hopefully this helps you out, and go ahead and follow along. We'll get started. Okay, so one of the things you want to do every time you change oil is check your air filter. Now the air filter that's in here, and there's just 4 screws to take this cover off. The air filter that I have in here is a K&M air filter. This is a reusable air filter, so you don't have to replace this with or purchase a new one all the time. It's pretty dirty. I actually skipped this last time I did an oil change, and I shouldn't have, so definitely something I need to clean out. I'll show you the proper way to clean out this particular filter. If you have one of the throwaway paper style folded filters, then you just need to throw it out and replace it with a new one. So but this one's washable, and I've got a little kit that includes some detergent that won't damage it, and as well as some oil to recharge the folds in here to help it attract dust and filter that air properly. There's also I'll show you a shot of down in here. This is very dirty as well in the case. Since this filter is so dirty, we're going to use an air compressor and just blow all of the large debris off here, and then we're going to use some of the K&M cleaner to loosen up all the grease and grime and dust and dirt that's actually embedded in the filter. So we'll go ahead and get this blown off here first. Alright, so the little K&N recharge kit that we've got here, this is basically, I think it was $12. This has the recharge oil that basically you put on the filter once it's all cleaned up and dried thoroughly, and then this is just a cleaner that's safe for the filter itself. So I'm not sure if you could use probably dish soap or laundry soap or something other than this particular cleaner. I'm sure you can, but you need the oil to recharge anyway. Again, I'm sure you could probably use something else as well, but I just stick with what the manufacturer recommends in this case. So we're on the side of the vehicle here on the passenger side, and just a couple notes. The Avalanche sits high enough off the ground where if you get on a level surface, which is what I recommend for this type of project, on cement here like we are, you don't really need to jack the vehicle up. You can work in and out pretty easily. If you like a little extra space, go ahead and jack it up. Obviously be safe, use jack stands and wheel blocks and all that good stuff. So again, we're over here on the passenger side of the vehicle, and if you just take a peek underneath, you can see very easily the oil drain plug right there, 15 millimeter drain plug, and I've got an oil pan under here obviously to catch all the used oil. There's about 6 quarts of oil in here, I believe. I'll double check that as well. But all we're going to do to start this off is get all that old oil drained out. So we're going to unscrew that plug and let all that oil drain out, and then we'll go ahead and get the filter removed. Alright, so oil's draining out here, or drained out here, and it's down to just about a drip. So we'll let that just finish off, make sure all the old oil's out. And as you can see up here on the left hand side, there's the blue oil filter as well, and that's going to be the next step, is to pull that out. I do recommend that you use a correctly fitting oil filter ratchet or socket, whatever you want to call it, the oil filter wrench, to get that off, so that you don't mess it up or strip it. Also make sure you're tightening or turning it the correct way, because you can stretch those threads out or strip the threads on the oil filter or the shaft very easily. So and once the oil's done draining out there, you just want to replace the oil plug and make sure that that is securely fastened. I always do this right away and make sure that that is fastened in there. Obviously you don't want any spills on the driveway once you go to add new oil, and you don't want to run the engine with that loose or leaking, or you don't want that to fall out down the road. So make sure that's tight, and we'll go ahead and get that oil filter off, and I'll show you how to prepare the new one. Alright, just a quick tip here on taking the oil filter out. I usually throw a towel down underneath the oil pan, because they're going to get some splashes and spills. And so you want to make sure you try to protect your driveway or garage floor or whatever you're changing the oil on. Of course, catch all that oil. But the oil filter itself, once you get it loosened up, you're going to have some oil drip out of there, so make sure you position the oil pan directly below it. The oil filter will be full of oil as well, so try to hold it upright and dump it out into the oil pan to reduce the spills that you're going to have there. So, and of course, used oil will all get recycled back to AutoZone, takes it right back. So we'll go ahead and get that done as well. Okay, so we've got the old oil filter taken off, and just kind of a bit of advice: the rubber seal that was on the old oil filter was stuck up on the gasket where the oil filter tightens up to. So I had to make sure that that gets removed. You should have a clear metal surface that the new oil filter is going to screw into. You want to make sure that you grab a towel, a nice clean towel, and just wipe that all clean off the truck there. Make sure there's no dirty oil or anything else gets stuck on that. You want to make sure it's got a real nice clean surface. So next thing we're going to do here is we've got the new oil filter, and we're just going to take a little bead of oil, and I just filled up a little oil in the cap there of our new fresh oil. We're just going to run that oil around the seal on the new oil filter, so just to kind of get that moistened up a little bit, make sure that gets a really good seal when we screw that down. I'm going to go through just some quick tips on tightening the oil filter in, because a lot of people make some pretty big mistakes on this part. So okay, so once we got the new oil filter prepared here and the surface of the oil filter socket there all clean, just a word of advice: these are fairly soft threads in the oil filter itself, and so you want to make sure, number one, that it's not cross-threaded when you feed it on there. So make sure it's very easy to turn. And then once you get up to the top here, you want to kind of get it snug, and then you can use your hand and just tighten it. You don't need to wrench this down with the actual oil filter wrench. It should probably go, once it snugs up to the surface, about 3/4 of a turn from the first contact, once it first starts to get snug. And that's about that. So you don't need to tighten that down with the wrench. A lot of people start wrenching on that oil filter and it'll just strip the threads out. Hopefully not on the actual truck. That could cause a lot of problems. So just make sure it's nice and snug, and like I said, should turn about 3/4 of a turn to maybe a little bit more once you first feel it kind of get tight there. So once that's on, we're ready to make sure we've got our oil plug in, and we've got the oil filter nice and snug, everything's sealed up down here, so we can go back up to the top and start filling up with oil. Okay, just a quick blip about the type of oil that I'm using here. 5W30, what recommended here by the manufacturer. This is Mobil 1 full synthetic. There's a lot of argument, discussion about whether to use synthetic, semi-synthetic, or non-synthetic oil. You know, I personally try to get the best oil that I can get. There was a deal on the Mobil 1 right here at AutoZone this week with an oil filter, and so this is what I got. I generally go with a semi-synthetic or a synthetic oil. You know, my thought on that is I spend a little bit extra money, you know, a couple times a year. It doesn't cost that much extra, and hopefully help the engine last longer and have less leaks and keep the engine cleaner. So you know, if it works, that's great. I'm sure it can't hurt the engine at all. So that's just what I'm using. You can use whatever you can afford and whatever you'd like to use. So obviously took the oil cap off here, and you want to use a good funnel because you don't want to spill oil all over the engine. And that's how you end up making a lot of smoke and a lot of mess. So you want to make sure you don't spill any oil when you're filling it up. This engine, I believe, takes 6 quarts. I'm going to go ahead and add 5. I'm going to let it run for a few minutes and then shut it off and check it and see where we're at, and then I'll add the last quart as needed. So we'll start with adding 5 quarts here. Alright, once you're done adding all the new oil, I usually just pour the old oil right back into the container that it came in, and next time I go to get an oil change, I'll just take the old oil right back up to wherever you purchase oil from, and usually they'll take it back. I know AutoZone will take the used oil right back, so that's generally where I go to purchase mine. Once you have all the old oil in your container here, make sure that you mark that. You don't want to use that oil in a new or next time you go for an oil change. So you want to make sure you label the old oil. Alright, so once the air filter is nice and dry, I used the air compressor and let it sit out in the sun for a few hours, and it's pretty drier at this point. I don't see any more moisture in it, and so I think this will be good. I do recommend letting them dry out for even longer. If you can let it sit overnight, that'd be great. I'm in a little bit of a time crunch today, so we'll do what we can. Next thing you want to do is just apply this air filter oil, and basically all you're going to do is just kind of spray this down the top ridge of each one of these pleats, just so you get a nice cover on everything here. You don't want to put too much in there, it'll restrict the flow of air, but you want to make sure you cover it nice and evenly, and this will trap any of the fine particles. So these are real nice air filters to have. Saves you a lot of money in the long run and provides a better filtration as well. So that should get it done right there, and we'll go ahead and get that put back in the vehicle. Alright, that pretty much wraps it up. We've got the oil filter changed out with a brand new one. We have all our oil switched out with new oil, and we also cleaned up the air filter and got that all just like new. So I did end up running the engine for a few minutes, letting the oil just kind of cycle through the engine, and then I shut it off for a few more minutes, let everything drain back down to the oil pan. I took a good reading, and it looked like we were about a quart shy, which I assumed. It does take 6 quarts. So we added that extra quart in and tested everything out again, and we're right at the top of the hash marks on the fill stick. So everything looks good. There's no oil fill meter or to reset inside the vehicle in this model in 2004, so we don't have to do that. And all I'm going to do is just take note in the glove box. I have a piece of paper. I'll write down the mileage and the date that I changed the oil, what type of oil we put in it, so that we know when it needs to be changed next. So another thing too, all you dads out there, grab your kids. Kayla always likes to help me out with all these types of projects, and even if she never has to do this again in her lifetime when she's an adult, this will be a good experience for her just to understand how everything works. So take your kids with you, get them out there. They're a big help. Kayla always likes to do these things, so keep that in mind. But thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something. Hit thumbs up if the video was informational for you. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested in any other type of sustainable projects or any other home improvement, and also vehicle repairs as they come needed around our household. So we thank you for watching. Have a good one.